I call it.
Woo! We are on. Hello, the Culture Matters podcast. Today, I'm very excited to introduce you to our guest. But before I do that, here's a quote just for this podcast. Begin to be now what you will be hereafter. William James. John Swartz is a good friend of the Culture Matters podcast. You may or may not know that. If you're listening, go on YouTube and type in John Swartz or Jay Doran. That's me, Jaydydoran. John and Lindsay, Lindsey, John and Lindsay Swartz. We should pop up. That's our in-person interview from a handful of years ago. John has been a friend and really an inspiration to me because he has been a supporter of me since long before me was me. And I'm still trying to figure out what that quote I just read was, but John has been helping families buy and sell real estate for many years and successfully built a community of people that love him, care about him, work with him, alongside him. Yeah, sure. Plenty of people that aren't. Anyway, it's like I'm about to turn this introduction to a 7-step program. John, thank you for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. I appreciate it.
I want to know if you were to think about the first year that you were in real estate, running around with your oldest in your arms, selling houses, to right now today, and that there's different pressures, there's different macro, micro. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you do that contrast of the first year in the business and then all these years later?
The one thing that really stands out to me when it's something I think about time and time again when I'm when things get slow or something like that is that I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know it couldn't be done back then. That's the one thing, and how you can somehow become your own. Get in your own way by thinking of this works this way works that way, this way, this, and if you're and sometimes you take a step back and you think about it. I didn't know what I didn't know then. So like everything was possible. I loved the career. I enjoyed it very much. So I could do a lot of things that I accomplished a lot earlier because I didn't know it couldn't be done. And I think that's when you get older, it's, oh, that doesn't work, because you think you know it now, but it did work then. But maybe in that scenario that was a little different is the fact that you had to overcome those things. And the challenge for me is probably the thing I really enjoyed in the beginning. But nowadays, times, I read something a long time ago. I think it was like Zig Ziglar said that most millionaires make their money in a new area, a new location. They move because they don't know what can't be done or anything. And it always kind of stuck with me, but that's what the biggest thing I think of now is. The biggest contrast is I think that you build in routines and stuff based on on what your past experiences, but things change too. So your past experience, what didn't work then might work now. Wow. That's the biggest thing. I guess just the biggest contrast is knowing and versus not knowing.
What do you think someone that's listening to this that's struggling, what do they need to hear that's not just going to lead them to say, screw these two?
Somebody else is doing it. Somebody else is doing it well. And whoever that is, try to figure that out. They probably got 2 arms, 2 legs, or maybe they don't even, and a head on their shoulders, just like you, but they're getting it done. They're getting it done somehow, some way. That's what kind of keeps me going sometimes when I'm feeling kind of like, just, beat up, or it's a rough day, or I have a bad interaction with somebody, something like that. I go on Facebook and it's business is funny, because people sometimes I'll be on there, like, this guy's killing it, whatever. And I'm like, then I talk to him a couple days later, dude, I'm dead. Like I'm dead. Like when you see me posting like crazy stuff like that, all this stuff I'm doing, he's like, that's because I have time to post it, because I'm not doing it. I totally get it, but it does motivate me. Like, I'm like, what? It's 3:00. Maybe I'll call it a day. Whatever. I'll be like, I'll see somebody on there posting something. Oh, well, I just sold this, $1 million house or this and that. I'm like, man, screw that guy. I gotta get out there and do. I gotta win this battle.
Are people actually buying homes? And if so, why?
Yeah, there's still, well, it's the need to live. I mean, all this stuff in the media about rates and stuff, I mean, it's very, I mean, two people meet each other, fall in love, they get married, buy a house. I mean, that doesn't change. It's just the rate just changes what they can buy, what they can afford, and things like that. So, yeah, so a little less investment activity from people in the higher rate things, and even then, a lot of times those buyers are either paying cash or they're paying higher rates anyway for because the investment loans are higher risk, they're higher rates. But yeah, people are still buying homes. They still need a place to live. I still think people are moving out of city life and want to be more at home, versus out and about. And I think that's why, especially like in South Jersey, I think our market is still very, very strong here. People talk about a cooling off period. I mean, I think they're insane. I don't know where they get that
What
from.
could be leading them to thinking that?
I think media. I think people hear the rates and all this stuff, and it's like, people don't really care about that stuff. If you really break it down, they don't really care about it. And it's all relative. So if the rates are higher, it slows down the activity. So the price is a little better. If the rates are super low, what happens? People come in and they think it's a good time to buy and they drive the prices up. So that stuff's kind of all relative, I think. But I think what leads them to think that is mostly just media. The perception of headlines reading, oh, the rates went up, the Fed rate increased. It doesn't always increase mortgage rates when that happens. And even if it does, again, it becomes all relative. I mean, I have people say like, oh, it's not a good time now because rates are high and nobody's buying. I'm like, anything I put on the market right now, 2-3 days, 60 showings at least,
Really?
and multiple offers. Yeah,
60.
I had a place I couldn't give away 10 years ago. I had an investor bought it off me for 60,000 and was mad at me. It was a family member, so he wasn't that mad at me. But he could be mad at me because he can say everything he can't say to a normal person. So he was like, he put up for 60. I think he put like 30 in it, rehab, put on the market for like 130 to flip it. And didn't sell. I mean, it didn't nothing. We couldn't get any interest out of it. It was a little bit of a weird house, weird layout and stuff. But then here, he rented it out, for the last 10 years.
Wow.
Got income for it. I did the math the other day because I was just curious because I wanted to go back to them and say, this is how well you did on this place, by the way.
Congratulations.
For 187,000 gross revenue and from the rents, minus the tax expenses and insurance and maintenance over the years was about 75,000. So I'd say call it 100, right?
Wow.
$100,000. That makes the house free because he paid 60 for it, and then he's got 40,000 in profit, right? So, right, which is, I mean, now we just sold it for 200,000. So after paying commissions and everything, yeah, it's a net profit return of 380% was like
wait, I got a question now. How was that bought cash or was there debt involved?
No, he got a mortgage. He bought a mortgage. No, yeah, the house was bought cash. He bought it cash.
But then was there a loan to do the fixing?
No, he paid for that too out of pocket.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and plus the depreciation benefits and tax benefits he's got over the years for it. So it's I always tell people because people always wait to find the ultimate deal when they're investing or again whatever is driving the market at that time. But if you just buy market and sell market, you're going to make money holding real estate, and you're not going to take the risk that you're going to get with a stock or other kind of intangible investment. So like the markets go up simply because it's just from basic math and basic basic elements. So if you're renting a property, that landlord is renting that property to you based on his net return they have to get, which is usually 7-8% on their money, but minus taxes, insurance, and other things. And those things go up organically anyway. So just your friendly little neighborhood townships that raise your taxes every year cause your real estate to go up because the rents go up, which create, again, which makes the prices go up. So it's a real good, it's a real solid investment over time. And I always say to everybody, you should be diversified a little bit of everything. But it was just a good example of buying market and selling market. Buying market and selling market instead of.
What would you say to the person that because they weren't able to sell at that time, they just lowered the price and then sold it and didn't take your advice to rent it?
Well,
I
it
think-
depends on their personal scenario, but if they needed the money, let's say, they were
Yeah,
jumping on it, then I would say, then yeah, then do that. But I don't think you ever should take a loss. You should rent it. You and I were talking a little over a week ago about someone that we both know that buys 2 houses a year.
yeah.
I don't think, I don't know because I don't know the scenario, but I'm guessing that they're not, he's not going around looking for a slam dunk deal. Probably a good solid property in a good solid area. They know they can rent over time, and then they're going to blink in 20 years, and they're going to have 50 units and all appreciated crazy amount and are either almost paid off or paid off by the tenants. So getting a buy market, sell market is the best way to go. But I always, anybody that's going to do a flip should have a rental exit strategy, because anything can
So,
happen. Yeah, because you could get a piece of bad news in the world that's out there in the media, and it slows down. People just don't buy. Like, that happens. But over time, I mean, Americans in general, we have to buy stuff. Genetically, it's ingrained in us. We can't wait. And somebody told us that back in 2008, when all these people were on the fence. They're like, we can't do it. We can't sit still. We just don't have it in us. So over time, nobody's going to care about the headlines. They're just going to go the other way, just like it did with COVID. Remember, first COVID, everybody was quiet, everything in the house, was doing nothing, and all of a sudden, I'm like, this makes no sense. Why did everybody want to buy a house now? Actually, probably wasn't COVID as much as it was all the other stuff. People wanted to exit the cities and mass exodus because everything was shut down and closed. They wanted to be in their yards,
yeah.
enjoying the outside and staying home with their kids and working remotely. If you got to work where you live, you live somewhere nice, right? So
How did 2006, 7, 8, 9 impact you? And do you think you're drawing on that today? Logical.
impact. I mean, it was like taking a rocket to the moon and then the rocket blowing up on the way down. 2006 and 7 was fun, man. It was like we were all like movie stars. I mean, we were going out, velvet ropes, whining and dying cars. Everything was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But again, I never experienced that, so I just thought it was me. It was just me. I was just that freaking good, is what I thought. So, but actually, the world.
What you thought then?
Yeah, the conditions then were dictating that. And if you look at it, similar to now, it was the effects of 9/11 actually is what generated that market, because president, they kept lowering rates. They wanted people to get in their houses, and it was the aftermath of the Clinton administration, which was like lowered a lot of regulations on mortgage, said everybody should have a home. So you had low regulations. I mean, you had very little regulations, and then you had low rates coming after that, which was giving kind of a false economy. So a lot of people that didn't make the money on paper were able to buy houses, and not only that, refi houses because the prices were going so fast, and pay off all the credit card debt so they could appear to look. People had money around it, kind of made them rich, basically. And
Wow.
everybody was able to do that. So you could go out and you might have 60,000 credit card debt. People go sell their house that had equity now because the market was increasing, pay off the house, buy a twice as nice house, and the rates are low, right? So let's say they had a $1,200 payment. They might be in a house twice as nice for $1,300, but they paid off $1,200 a month in debt. So they lived like kings for a little bit. And then what do they do? Of course, again, Americans, what do? We go out and buy shit with those credit cards now that have no balances on them. But didn't matter because you bring up another $1,200 a month in debt, the house value went up, you can refi it, pay all that off again, do the same thing 6-8 months later. There was people refining their houses 2-3 times, a year back then. And then value started getting up, people stopped paying it. I remember a whole nother wave where the price got so high nobody could buy them. Right now, there was always a product out there like that millionaires use and wealthy individuals. They'll buy these, $2-3 million luxury homes, and it was like these pay option adjustable rate mortgages, right? And they would base your payment amount, and so let's say it was like 1.9% is what it was actually. And it was like based on the LIBOR index, which is London International Banks, so what banks lend each other. So it'd be like, your margin would be like 1% plus LIBOR, which was always traditionally real low. And it would reverse amortize and put the negative negative payment amount. It would give you a solid payment, a low payment, but it wasn't really your payment. It would go against the back of the loan, so it would add on to the principal balance.
Wow.
Which, if you're like a wealthy individual and you're buying a $2 million house on the beach, you're building a house, let's say, and it's going to be worth $4 million when it's done, and you're going to keep it for let's say you're 60, you keep it for 20 years. Who cares if a little bit of the balance increases, right? Because hey, you borrow 2 million, you owe 2.3 when it's done, with the house is worth 5. They're smart enough to know that and navigate that product. But what happened was when normal people couldn't afford regular housing. Like, let's say they're 300,000 now is the average house at the time. They would get those loans, and now they're paying $600 a month on a $300,000 house. And what did that do? That created a whole other level of increased equity. People, they went up. So, and then the music stopped. It couldn't work anymore. It was just so bizarre. I mean, we had people like the husband owns a landscaping company, shows very little income, and the wife didn't even have a job. He's like, can you make her your secretary? And then they buy like a $500,000 house. It was crazy.
And you saw things like that.
Oh yeah. It was that's the ride down. So that was at the ultimate peak. But we were all sitting around like, this is not gonna last. This is gonna get bad. And the bank stopped appraising things. I mean, it used to be like, it didn't appraise, you call it back, call the appraiser, like, come on, man, it's worth it. And then they would do it.
No, that sounds like a joke.
It looking at it now, looking backwards, it's like, how the hell did that happen? Because it was absolutely bad. But when you're so caught up in it, it got that way, little increments over time.
So I got a question now from this. You think it's like a weird blessing, in a sense that if the Fed, or if the rates are going up and people can't refi to get equity out right now, and equity's gone up, I heard on another show that the consumer debt is at a 15-year high. So do you think it's kind of bittersweet, but also good?
No, I don't think it's good at all.
No, not the debt being high. So like that we can't just refi out of it.
Yeah, the regulations. No, I don't, because I think everything should. I mean, it's just my opinion. Everything should go on market value. The people that lend that money are very smart. When you regulate it, you get that's when you get people squeezing themselves into the box that they shouldn't be. That's where it starts to get screwed up, I feel. Because what happens is you're taking a lot of people out of the market that could buy these homes with real money, especially self-employed people. It's still a nightmare to get a loan. If you take them out of the market, what are you doing? Again, you're decreasing inventory now, which are rising prices, making it less affordable. I think that they know that too. And I think that's why this whole thing where it just came out, where if your credit score is lower, you're paying 1% less than someone, they're paying 1% more now as a premium if your credit score is higher. The government just came out with this. And
is that real? That's a real thing?
It's a real thing, but
real or not?
It's a real thing, but it's not. In reality, it's not, because people that are the stronger borrowers are going to get better rates on the back end anyway. So even the extra point doesn't make up for it. I think it's more of just a way of and I don't want to offend anyways. I gotta say it differently, the right way. But I think it's more of the government trying to thinking they're making housing more affordable, because it's gotten to be a problem, because the younger people can't get, but it's like the student loans. We're going to pay off all your student loans. No, they're not. We're going to say it for the headlines. We're going to act like we're going to do it. It sounds good to every college student we want for new voters next year. But no, we're not doing anything. And that program doesn't do anything either. But I think it does. They know that there's a problem now because of what happened with dumping all that money into the economy, has increased all these things to be higher. Cost of buildings higher. Again, that raises prices. I mean, it's great if you're in real estate, but long term, I see a similar problem where people can't get into housing. And there's, I mean, if you look around and you read between the lines, you see what's going on. Everything's turning into rentals. There's a lot of that going on. And I think all that is because of the regulation. Just got people. I think if you let people, if you, if they're making a big purchase, I think that they'll make intelligent decisions for the most part. The ones that don't, they may suffer consequences, but then they might learn and go back. I mean, one thing you can always go back if you have, we have people that lost homes and stuff and back 3 or 4 years later and bought themselves a nicer one, a better one. So, but yeah, I don't think it would be as, I feel like they put too much regulation on stuff and they overdo it and it creates other problems. That's just my.
What are some of the problems you're seeing out there?
Well, people not being able to refi, and that's what happened in 2008 was we talk about like not being able to refi. So that was a problem. That they couldn't refi back then because the values weren't there, and I get all that. But then they were trying to do these loan modifications for people that were in foreclosure, and if you paid your mortgage, right, you couldn't really apply. They wouldn't even consider you modifying your loan. Like if you're being, if you're paying your mortgage, but let's say you were struggling, you couldn't get a loan modification because they bought those houses with the stated income programs where you didn't have to qualify income wise in the beginning. Now they're in these loans. The houses are going, in reverse. They can't refi out of it. And people stop paying their loan because they want to refi it they want to do a modification rather. And what happened was now they're put themselves in a position where they're going into foreclosure, right? If they just left it alone, 2 things would happen. They either lose it, which they all, like 80% of them fail again anyway, even if they were able to get a modification. They're either going to lose it or they're going to go out and hustle, work harder, do something else, get another job, whatever. But they'll learn from that experience and they'll be stronger people. I think it'll be better than what they did. And so many people stopped paying the loan because they thought they were going to modify it. And it didn't happen. And then like in a place like New Jersey, it takes like 3 years minimum to foreclose on, to go through the whole process, which
Wow.
and people get a false sense of security. They're in the house and the world's crashing the economy. I still got to wait 20 minutes to eat at Capitol Grill because nobody's paying their houses. They got all that money. They're out buying stuff and it looks great. The economy's great, but
Wow.
I think the regulation, sometimes just, they're not people that do that industry every day. The people that make those regulations, and then when that happens, they don't really know the effects of what, the bad thing that comes out of it.
Met a guy a couple of years ago out when I was really networking like crazy, who was a stockbroker, and he went bankrupt, but they kept their house.
Yeah, you can do that.
Fought for the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. No, it had to be 6-7 weeks ago. And he said the best thing he ever did was keep, like, they fought for the house because now the house, it's just totally ballooned in what its value is.
Yeah, wow.
Do you think that, I don't know, what do you think of that story? Is that like is that the move to just fight one's way out of it, or I guess is it situational? What do you think?
I've fought my way out of, so many situations and different things. My wife talk about that all the time. Like, that just over the years, the stuff that. But yeah, I think because you learn from it, and you grow from it, you get better. Absolutely, because it's funny. There's people now, like there's houses I've seen that were in foreclosure for years, just because I sell those as well. I work for some of the the financial institutions that sell those properties, and the people left them and they're empty, and they probably don't know they could go back now because it hasn't been foreclosed on yet and sell the house and have equity. Believe it or not. Yeah,
people can do that.
Yeah, people can do that. Yeah, there's some now like their house sitting there empty and they're like they won't answer the phone because they don't know why they're calling. And literally they might have walked away for a house for 160. It's worth 300 now. And even after attorney's fees, foreclosures, unpaid stuff, it might be 250, 260, might be 20,000 laying in there. But not only 20,000, the house is paid off. Credit will go back.
Holy cow!
I had a client. This is a funny story. You just got it. A little crazy referral from a friend. Sold the house. Sold the house for him. It was weird. I put the house under, I get an offer on it next day. It was in him and his mom's name. And it's like, I want to say I got an offer like 30,000 less. And it was only on the market for 2 days. He's like, I'll take it. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, you give it a minute. Like, so he took it here. He ended up getting himself in trouble. He went to jail. I sold the house for his mom. Comes out of jail, wants to buy a house again. He wasn't paying for it. But when he paid it off, his credit got good. It was the only thing I guess he had credit wise. And this is back when the restrictions weren't as bad. Bought another house, never paid that. Calls me, like 2 weeks before the sheriff comes. Just get me out of it. I don't care. I sell it, same thing. He made money, ended up making money. He had equity. On another house, did the same thing. And that didn't pay for any of them for like 4 years. And yeah, never had any problem with it. It was a pretty funny story. I have to tell you more details when I seen it. Yeah, and then I had another. It's funny. I lost contact with him for like 7-8 years, and I have a hedge fund I deal with that buys bad notes, and then in bulk, and then they go and get realtors to work with the people to try to get them to sell the house or whatever. Just try to work out a situation with them, either modification or short sale or whatever. One of the ones they want me to evaluate is this guy. I call him, you can't believe it. So I'm telling my asset manager story because it's funny. So they offer him $40,000 like a relocation assistance for the deed, for a deed in lieu of foreclosure. And the guy just can't get himself into trouble. So that he can't.
What do you think?
My irony was because I was just saying people learn from their mistakes, but some don't. But I think that over time they will.
That's a good observation. Well, is it a percent? I guess. Does everybody have to for us to? If we're talking about ourselves,
No, I think no, but like back to the original question, which ties in here, is that it's just I think that people will fix their problems when they have to, and I think everybody has to get their back up against the wall once in a while, right? It's got to get tough. But I know, you can. I would say, like, so where he fought for his house in the story you just mentioned, I've had times where I should have fought harder for something because I lost it, trying to get out of it versus just, like I said, you'll hustle, you'll do more things, and then I've had properties I sold like that I was worried about when I was younger, with less experience, and I wish I held on to, like in Philadelphia and Fishtown, where I could have got houses for $10,000-$12,000, which back then was like, to me, a million, but it was a lot. But now those houses are 500,000, 600,000. This isn't 50 years ago. This is 13 years ago. You could have got stuff down there reasonable. And then it's there's a like, and I've sold that. I think that sounded like a lot of money, but it was really more just my frustration of dealing with it and not just fighting through it and keeping it. A couple properties I had over there that I sold cheap that I shouldn't have. I think it's good to get your back up against the wall and learn from it. So the next time that happens, I won't do that. Hopefully.
How did the people, because you interact with a lot with investor-minded people in the real estate capacity and these institutions, what are some of the traits of those that are the most successful, well-versed in that?
So the ones that do really well, they map out their plan. They do their due diligence, not on the properties themselves, but on their plan and what their strategy would be. Like if it worked out well, if this happened, if that happened. They know their own financial stuff, and then they find an agent that they trust, and they use them and trust their opinion. They know their value to the agent. Like they're going to be a client forever, a steady client. I don't have to go out and try to find new people. And they know you'll take care of them. But they do their homework, like I always say, they trust, but they cut the cards. They trust their advisors, and then but they do their homework too. It's not blind trust, but for the most part, like if I say properties worth this, And I run this a lot of times. That's why I don't really take on, new investors unless I know them from somebody else. Because it's a lot of work that you have to do to get these properties, and you have to move quick if they're good deals, especially in the market now. But last time I micromanaged me, and this is what they always do, right? They say, all right, the pairs are going to be this. Let's say their pairs are going to be 15,000, but just nothing 15,000 anymore. But for sake of argument, they'll estimate it at 20, and then they say, well, we're going to sell it at this, and we're selling it at 200,000. So, and I got to estimate the closing cost. Well, commission 6%. I said, no, doesn't I charge you 5? Well, we always got figures. Well, how can we figure if I'm charging you 5? Why figure 6? And then you add up that, right? And then they underestimate what it'll sell for. So they say, oh, if I 2, what if it only goes for 180? They take off 10% on the back end, 10% on the front end, and then they want to buy it for less than they're going to get it for. And then they do nothing. It's analysis paralysis, and you get nothing. And then I wasted a bunch of time talking with, and they might say to me, hey, yeah, I know the comps are 210 on this one, right? I'm going to go for 250 because the buyer pool there in the 250 range is super high. Like that house I just told you about, 60 showings on. There's 59 people in that area looking for a house now that didn't get it. Would they be willing to spend $50 a month more for one that's totally rehabbed, brand new, and everything else? Yes, it's speculative, but I'm an expert in it. It's what I do. So, and I want my long-term relationship with you, Mr. Investor, for 20 years. I want to sell houses to your kids. I want to sell your portfolio off for your kids. So, and my kids, I want to work in my business and work with your kids later. So, if you have the ones that are really good, do really well. I have a couple of clients that I've had that have made millions of dollars over the years with me, and that's what they do. They trust me. If I call and tell them it's a good deal, this and that, they'll ask me the questions that they have in their own mind, but they will trust my judgment over time just because they know the relationship. And I'll take the hit on them if something. I always say that I never did it. I never had to do it. I never had to take a loss on anything like that with them. But if they take a loss on them and they have other properties, look, I'll sell those for free. I'll make it up for you, whatever. I'm not going to have you invest in something that. And I also don't buy them myself, believe it or not. And some people will say that I should. There's money, but I always look at it. How can I give you a good investment property, and I'm still buying them myself as well, right? So why wouldn't I buy it myself? I'm going to give it to you, right? But I think it's more important to value. Would I rather have make a quick $50,000 on a flip, or have 2 or 3 investors over time buy 2 or 3 properties from me, right? And then they make it and they tell all their friends and family. So I'm getting their other opportunities as well for just because this is the business that I'm in. And if you buy and sell your own stuff, I think you get liability there if something goes wrong, if when repairs are wrong. It can mentally take you off your sales game if you're stressed about something, need to sell it faster. Stuff like that. But I think that's the biggest thing is the trust. If you build a really trusting relationship with the investor and the agent, the really smart people tend to trust the people that they have doing their things for them. And that goes for everything. Every business has great management that they trust, and their accountants, their advisors, it's all about trust. They're the ones I think that do the best. The ones that think they do it all themselves, they're the ones that typically don't do real well.
Have you seen that over the years?
Yeah, I've seen it a bunch of times. I've had people tell me they want to buy, their friend made money on this property. And I'm like, well, all right, what you're looking for isn't here right now, but just wait and I'll find you the right one. And then they end up going and just buying something that somebody told them to buy, and they get slaughtered on it. So the really good ones, that's what they do.
What level of learning curve is there to be successful investing in real estate? You think there is a more that you think it's harder than what it appears, than what culture would tell us?
No, I mean it's like I said, most of it's you got to trust your gut as well and trust your needs. Like if you have I'm not saying you trust somebody blind, but over time, if you have other people dealt with those people, you have to, because you're not an expert. If you're an investor, you're not an expert in it, but there are people that are experts. You got to do your homework. That's the way you do your homework. And you meet them right. Well, show me the last 20 that you did that for people. Show me the last 20 buy and sell transactions you did for investor, and don't skip one. Don't give me the 20 good ones and skip the 2 that lost money. Show me everything. And if you do that, and then you take your time and trust the right person. And look, there's always a chance, but I'll be honest, I've never had any of my clients ever in 20 years and 3,000 transactions ever lose $1 on a fix and flip. If they did, it was on their own end, borrowing money the wrong, or whatever, or they didn't get it done in time. But if it sold with the numbers that I gave them were all good. If they lost money, I didn't know about it. Put it that way. Nothing on my end. Some of them had partners and things like that. I guess over time they could lose a couple bucks here and there, but or on the construction costs or things like that. We've had that happen where they get, their cousin to do the construction job. He takes a deposit, doesn't show up, doesn't come back. Now the house is sitting 3 months. They're afraid to get another contractor because they already paid that one. Things like that. But as far as like the vision and the knowledge of what the property is going to be worth in the end. Because you have to be speculative really to make any money on it a little bit. You got to know the market. You got to know who the buyer is. So like what I do is, which is a little different, I think, to most people's approach when they're selling residential property, is I identify a buyer. I market to a specific type of buyer for that particular price. Who's going to buy this home? I'll just say that the comps are this in the neighborhood. This is what they go for because they're all different. One might have a pool, and one's got, a 4-car garage. So who's my buyer? And there's a lot of these, there's not a lot of houses with 4-car garages, so it doesn't fit the neighborhood. But somebody who likes 4-car garages, people are into cars, got a pool out back. I'm guessing this is a guy that's got a couple bucks, right? They like nice stuff. They don't like to do this stuff. They're like the people that, high net worth people like to walk in and take over. They don't want to paint nothing, fix nothing up. You make it perfect. You identify that type of buyer. It's a lifestyle buyer, and you market it that way. So, I do that enough. I do enough homework up front that I know what the end number is going to be, and how we're going to get there. I must have had at least 4 or 5 listing appointments in the last year. Oh, you'll never get that price. You'll never get that price. I'm like, what? Well, this one sold for that. Well, that one didn't have this, and this. I just had one that sold the highest one in the neighborhood. Because again, you can't. The comps will tell you what the house sold for yesterday. Yeah. The market's going up, right? Why should I sell my house that's rising in value on the comps that sold 4 months ago? Right? If you don't know that difference, and you're just going backwards all the time, you're driving your price down. And then I see all the time on Facebook. Well, 1 week on the market, 37 offers, sold 50,000 over asking. Well, you probably have money on the table. It shouldn't sell.
That happens a lot, you think?
You should never sell 50,000 over asking. It shouldn't, because if it does, it means you underpriced it. Because what if the guy was going to spend 60,000 more is on vacation this week? I don't need it on the market week. Should be 2-3 weeks. And believe it or not, even taking that into account and forecasting and pricing a little higher, we've been getting a lot of offers, full price, maybe a little over asking or whatever. But the competition that was going against me on that listing was recommending $60,000 less asking. And I'll say, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm betting my career on it. I'm sure. My business is on referrals. I'm referring right now. And it's harder.
I think that could be a symptom. Or go ahead. Sorry.
It's more work for me to take it higher. I can put it out there and blow it out in a week and be done. But I'm here. It's a challenge for me. I don't want to leave money on the table for you. So I'll take that risk. I'll put my reputation on the line, and I'm willing to go higher based on my knowledge of where I think the market for this house is versus what everybody else is saying, based on where I think it's going and the amenities it has. Now, if it's an average house that's identical to everything else in the neighborhood, it's going to be similar to those comps. But I'm willing to go a little higher if it's cleaner, nicer, and also if there's nothing else on the market. If it's a desirable neighborhood and people want to go, I know that there's probably 15 buyers for every house right now. So, and you know what? I can take it down a little bit. I said, would you be happy if I put your house up for that number and got 20 offers and sold in a week? Or would you be leaving thinking, I wonder if I put up a little higher, sold it in 3 weeks for 50,000 more? And then I guarantee you, people that did do it, they go back and look, find out 30 days past when they sold theirs, what they went for in that neighborhood. After that, how much did you leave on the table? So I think that's what like that's what I think the trust comes in when you're hiring somebody, stuff like that. You want to see what ask those questions, make sure you have some experience enough to know. Because again, we are still in a rising market. I don't care what the media says. But in this area anyway, in this Northeast region, PA, Delaware, we have stuff down south. Just like Salem County, Pennsville, Carneys Point, these areas for years were, nothing going on there. You couldn't get anything going. It was dead slow. And we're selling those houses now 4 or 5 times what they were going for.
Really?
4 years ago, yeah. And Delaware. We have people in Delaware coming over to those areas. Again, it's leaving. So they're getting a ton of equity in their house in Delaware. Let's say they're selling their house for 500,000.
Yeah.
People coming over here and people are like, oh, well, the taxes are high. Taxes are high. I'm like, well, I'm 80. I'll take my 500 and go pay 3,000 a year more taxes for 5 years. Be a small, cute house, nice, look at the river, whatever. And it's driving prices down there. There's still, it's crazy how strong. I've never seen it this strong, even back then when we were talking about 04. Yeah, never seen it like this. And it's weird for me. I like to stay busy all the time. And back then we used to, we get an offer contract. We do 6 copies of them. We go meet with the seller at the house, sign it in person, go through it page by page, line by line, which we should never have been doing because we're not attorneys anyway. But anyway, we would do that, drop them off at the other agent's house or not house, office. And you had to do it because we had that 3-day attorney review period in New Jersey. So you had to go, like, you got a deal today, I'd have to drop what I'm doing, go out there, get this thing signed in person, drop it at the office. If I had dinner plans with my family, I had to cut them off, go tomorrow to get that deal done, get it to, under contract. A lot of running around physically that we don't do now. So now, like, we have an offer. We do it up, DocuSign it, send over 5 minutes, the contract she's done and done. So a listing, I normally would be spending 2-3 months, with the talking to the seller. Should we lower the price? Should we not? Now put it on the market, under contract, sign, sealed, and delivered in 5 minutes. And I'm like, all right, what else to do the rest of the day? It's crazy. So it's really weird now. But I never
kind of like bittersweet.
No, it's a different kind of awesome. It just has to be, you have to, like I said, make changes, right? In your business, know that that's the thing, work your schedule differently, change it, and just, we learn and forget. That's what, that's my, it's like my philosophy here by running my team, learn and forget. Learn everything
by that.
Well, because like right back then, I learned how to do contracts by hand and hand deliver them and go over them and stuff. But now none of that's important anymore. So forget that. Now what's going forward? Where are we going from here? Digital, DocuSign, internet stuff, artificial intelligence. So we gotta use that stuff. If you don't, your competition is going to be. If you don't learn and change and adapt to the new things. It's funny because we get deals now with people where they're like, all right, well, what's your fax number? I want to send you an offer. I'm like, fax machine is right next to the 8-track player. I don't have a fax. And this will be like the 60-year-old generation. It's kind of like they just got up to faxing.
Yeah.
I give an example. My uncle's down there. Sure, we have a thing. We give our clients a free market analysis every month. It's like a bank statement. We call it a home wealth report. You automatically get every month. Like, so you get your retirement statement, but nobody has anything. You don't know what your house is worth every month. So every month we send it to them automatically. So my marketing, we call it, they research. So I go close a house, I give them the address and the name. They go find out their email, their Facebook, their Instagram, whatever. And then we put them in our marketing thing. So I got this client, you got Joe Swartz, is my uncle. We can't find his email anywhere. I'm like, you're not going to find his email. You're not going to find his email. It doesn't exist. So it's funny because they like for my dad, he started using the phone and started texting. 7-8 years after the rest of us were doing it. But it was just it's funny you forget how far how much things have changed. When I first got in the business, I was using, before I got there, shortly before I got there, people were using the MLS book. They would drop them off every week, the listings to the offices, the board would, and then that's where the listings were. They didn't have it online. But I kind of took advantage of that when I first got into business because I could use computers. And the other agents, around, a lot of the agents were very experienced then, or had to forget, right, and learn computers and learn how to use the internet to look for listings and stuff. So that's where the learn and forget thing comes, because it changes quickly when it does. And I think nowadays with technology, and we had like all these places doing automated offers, where there's iBuyers out there that can open door and things like that, or they're buying houses with sight unseen.
Mm.
So they're now they're competition at some level, so you have to adapt and do things differently.
What about the type of, without going too into detail, but the buyers that are buying, do they have a lot of confidence in their businesses or their jobs, or like what? I'm curious the types of people that are making these,
Yeah, you see
home
it.
is a big investment for people. It's a lot of people come on the show and say it's the best investment. So yeah, what's the psychology or of the buyers now, or the background,
I see it more in so like high net worth areas, expensive like luxury type listings. Those buyers have tended been a little bit more concerned with like where things are going, the rates and different things. When the inflation was going crazy, we've seen scenarios where people were under contract on houses, and then when those rates increased and stuff like that. Actually, so we had one recently, buying a higher net worth individual. When that Silicon Valley Bank went out, and when that closed up, they just freaked out and just backed off, because it kind of eerie for me. It looked 2008-ish, so I think in those areas you get a lot of that, especially, and they were they were business people that, their business could be affected one way or another. I had another client that had his bank froze. They stopped allowing withdrawals. It was similar. It was related to that bank going under. There was one of their subsidiaries. He had money there. He was buying something, and they were limiting withdrawals from people. They're told their money's going to be good. They were insured by the government. The government was bailing them out, but that was going to take some time. He couldn't access his money. So yeah, it does affect him in certain, mostly in that realm versus regular, typical, family buying a house in a regular residential neighborhood. They're not as affected by that kind of stuff, I think, because usually their jobs are pretty secure. And nowadays, if you have a regular, especially a trade job, I mean, they're solid, like any kind of like.
So you see that the economy is strong from an anecdotal experience, in your view, like who you're interacting with, the home buyers, the home sellers. I'm curious, what's the?
I am concerned about. I'm concerned about the like artificial money, like the effects of like the PPE money that was out there, and I think a lot of people had jobs that probably shouldn't have because of the extra money out there. Places needed more help than normal, and businesses were given money to keep people. I think those kind of things over time, I think, are going to come to a head. And I think some people are buying houses, that for too much money, based on their income, that I don't think, they don't have room for one little glitch. Like if their job caught on fire, and they lost work for 3 weeks, they might put them under in some cases.
You're seeing that a little?
I see what people's budgets are and what they have in reserves, and what what they put into the house. And if they're not going to save, and people don't really tend to save money over time, average people. So I do feel like some of this money that's out there that's kind of artificial because it was given out, that could come to a head at some point. Because that's what was happening in 08, right? It was the same thing, but it was just different. Instead of giving cash to people, they gave home equity to people, which they then borrowed against and used. And again, it was not real money. And in 08 and 09, when they were saying the economy was real good, in 2010, but people weren't paying for their houses, right? So that's housing expense for most people is the biggest thing that their biggest expense. So if you're not paying that, you have money to go out to fancy restaurants and
Good point.
go to sporting events and things like that. My grandfather ran a financial planning business. He would tell me stuff. He's like, yeah, this economy is bad. He's like, you know, he's been around a long time. He's like, you don't know what the bad economy. The bad economy is like you can't go to the store and get bread tonight. Like that's like, it's not like he's like I can't get into a restaurant to go have dinner. This is not a bad economy. They're just spending it in the wrong places. Yeah. So,
are we entitled?
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. We're all entitled. Sometimes I'll be out with my wife and the stuff that I'll bitch about. I'm like, I can't, look at that guy, Jesus, that guy got back. I can't say that again. It's not that bad. I'm like, parking spot 40 feet from the door. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
What's the attitude that we need to have? Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for that. We're at new lows on this episode.
Actually, I did that last night. We got a little place. It was a little wet out. There's a park in front. I was like, yeah, I can park right back here. Then she said, said to me, let's make a deal. I said, well, you got heels on. She said, don't turn it on me. Like, it's my problem. Like, I'm the one that feels it. I'm fine. I'll walk through it. Heels. I'm like, okay, it's me. You're right. Like, this is awful. Yeah.
What attitude do we need to have right now? Is this time to work or time to play?
Well, I think it's always time to work. You gotta work before you play. If you don't do that, you're gonna feel guilt. Feel bad when somebody else is doing it. I think most people that are self-employed will. I know I do. You got to do so much so you can enjoy the things that you want to go do. So I talk about 2008 when people were doing that. Like, I mean, I knew it for a fact. I'm not just speculating. I had friends of mine that were, they're not paying their phone. They're going out. I can't eat steak if my house is in foreclosure. I can't go to an Eagles game if I'm, if I know I'm losing my house, or whatever. But I think it's definitely time to work because there's opportunities out there. That money's still out there. So, what is it? Brad said there's money out there. It's just in other people's pockets. He's got to figure out how to get it.
That's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's always time to work. It's always time to learn. I think learning is more important than anything. Again, because anything you learn, in college, even or the people that learned at the college 20 years ago, that education is not even relevant today. Like it's totally. We live in a different world today. Like, think about how much has changed since 2020. I mean, it's 100%.
Have you noticed it in your area? Like, has the culture changed?
Oh yeah, it's totally, yeah. It's much more divided. I mean, it's much more divided. It's like, we used to be like, I could hate the Dallas Cowboys, right, and love the Eagles, and we got a conversation about that. We could argue about it too, right?
Yeah.
Like someone get mad, but now it's like you got to worry about everything, and then you got to be this or that. Seems like with most people, there's never like and it's bizarre to me to see it. Like I watched the video the other day. It was she on a plane. This woman got thrown off a plane. She's yelling at him because he had a Trump shirt on or something. And like it's not the Trump thing isn't the president thing anymore. It's just if you have that sign, you're this type of person.
Yeah,
You
sure.
don't care about climate. You don't care about it. I can care about climate and still like certain colors, right? I guess like no, it's you're this, and this, and you're this, and this. And it's like it's the Cowboys and the Eagles, right? It's like no, you're that team. That's it. That's like all we can be, and you're that. And it's like whatever, I think it's bizarre, but like I try to say, I don't even try to talk to. Certain like that person that's trying to ram this down my throat is just in a different reality. They're in a different world, like that. They're just in a different reality. They live in a whole different reality. Like if you some people think just because you're self-employed that you're, you know, that you're with this people with these and that. I'm like, no, how about somewhere? And I just want to care about whatever issues in front of my face right now affecting me. I don't really. I'm not one team or the other, but I do see that in most cases. A
Do
lot
you
of
think
times.
people are wasting energy? Are we wasting energy on that? Is it misappropriated energy for
Oh,
other things we do?
absolutely. I mean, every time that you're worried about something, especially that aren't directly affecting you, it's just you're letting in energy that's going to slow you down and anything. That's time that you could be using to be creative, to talk to family, to do anything. Why would you put any energy into something like that? Or and it's obviously something in them that they're insecure about, so they're trying to fight with somebody else and make them a bad person when obviously they feel that way. They're not happy with themselves or something, so they got to judge somebody else, and they got to. But yeah, I do see it that way. We talk about that all the time. Like, you go to the islands and you see like the island's only so big, so people work together, they enjoy time with each other. They just like there is no big shiny. There's no like I gotta have a better car than you. I gotta have this. They don't care. Cars look like crap because they just drive them. They just drive them to get from A to B. They don't care. It's not a status symbol. It's not a set. They're not insecure about anything. They all have their family and the water and food, and that's all they care about. They enjoy it. It's like he's let go all the other stuff, right? It's funny you say it, and then there was a story, little like a newspaper thing one time. It's like this, it was in an island. This guy's chilling in a hammock. There's rich guys down there, all this fancy stuff on vacation, going to this house. He's like, and he talks about he works all the time. This guy in the hammock's like, well, what do you do? Why do you do it? He's like, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money here on day. I'm gonna save up enough money. I'm gonna buy a house on here so I can sit down and retire and relax. And I was like, okay, and he's still just chilling in the hammock, doing all the things this guy's dreaming about. Right? It's true, but there is a lot of energy going in wrong places for the wrong reasons because it's people's, the way they were brought up, whatever culture they were in. I mean, people that do things now still impress their parents that are passed away, it's that's interesting. You said when you put it that way, that yeah, people are wasting a lot of energy on things that propaganda that they're taking in and they're eating it, and they should just leave it alone. you know like you don't have to argue everything that comes at you that sounds ridiculous.
How do you catch yourself when you're in that state? Are there tactics?
As soon as it comes out of my mouth and I hear it, that's all I know. We all know it, we're all human, right? But yeah, I feel like I do it a lot less than most people, and I do it a lot less than I used to. We all fall into it. Somebody will say something that
Yep.
makes the hair on your neck stand up, right? It could
Yeah,
be like a little. It could be a
somebody
little.
had the balls to say culture doesn't matter once. No, but like, yeah. What were you saying?
It happens all the time. You gotta know. You gotta be aware that. All right, you can do it more when other people are talking, and you hear it, and like you want to jump in and say something. You're like, oh wait, man, that's I know why that bothers me.
Oh wow.
Because again, it's always usually something. But I think that people that don't know that don't learn that. They don't know it. They're not aware of it. So they get, and they can get deeper into that cycle of just being negative and angry and whatever. One side versus the story I was telling about earlier about two people on the plane. The lady got thrown off the plane. Catherine was sticking here in her shit, and what she was saying was she didn't like him because he's wearing Trump shirt. You know what you care about? You don't care about climate change. He never said that. He never said anything about it. And I'm like, wow, she thinks he's got to be all these things because he's wearing that shirt. And it was like a 20-year-old kid. He probably just was mad at his parents. They probably don't like the shirt. And he's probably telling them,
Does that make you think about like the power of a brand and business?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because people can be loyal to a team, they can be loyal to a brand, and people are sometimes. You know, like you see people buy, you know, Nikes, always buy Nikes usually. You know,
How important is to build that over the years, you know, as you
to the, you know, to all, it's important as it's important as the person that's building it is that is important to them to run the business that way. If it's their, you know, yeah, if you want, if your goal is to have a super successful business someday, then yeah, building the brand is the most important thing. And you see it in business. That's why they'll say like, wow, why did this company fire this person over something that seems so little? But it's not little to them because their values and their brand to them is super important. And I guess one little, you know, one little bad apple can spoil a bunch. So they, you know, they identify something that doesn't align with their brand stuff really, and they get rid of it right away. And it might be something minor that people, you know, but like, you know, I get it when they tell somebody, oh, this person lost their job and this and that because of this, you know, just because they posted this on, I say, yeah, because they don't want to be associated with that image at all. And if you know, they're loyal to their brand. Those are the most successful companies you see that really are loyal to their brand and they have good core values to stick with. Their values that go with them. But some people might not think they're, you know, they're good values, but if the company does and everybody in that culture does, those businesses tend to be super successful. In my, you know, my observation anyway.
how have you attracted strong team over the years? Like, and what are some things that you've learned from going about that process? What not to do, what to do? What are your views on that?
I think it's more just having the same type of alignment on I have people that I work with that we have different personal values, but the business values are like in line. And I can go hang out with them and have dinner with them and enjoy a great time with them and see two things totally different. You know, so it's and it's good. It's actually it's nice because it does it validates, you know, it validates you a little bit because you know you can, because you have to do that if you want to be successful. You have to do that. You have to hear both sides. You have to understand where the other people coming from. And my views on certain things over the years, the past 5 or 6 years especially, have changed dramatically in the way I see certain things. Just when you get older, you know, you see things differently, especially when you have kids, because you have to talk about this stuff with them, you know. But yeah, I think that our business stuff is very much similar. Where, you know, like I said, the learn and forget thing is one of the things we do that's kind of different than most places. We pay attention to new things happening, and we try to, you know, make sure that we are up to date on, you know, the newest trends and things like that. They're trying to stay ahead of the curve that way. There was a time when my most successful funnel for business was magazine ads, those little free magazines you see at the convenience stores.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was everything. And then, but we stay busy consistently. But now that thing is extinct. I mean, it's not even.
Wow.
I actually thought about creating a new one and doing it again. Just doing my own one. I thought about it because I like doing it. I like that little newspaper.
I work today.
Thanks. I think you probably would. I think you're right about that.
I think things that are, as soon as a great idea becomes commoditized by everyone doing it, it's no longer a great idea. Like, I didn't intend to write people notes that I care about and have that turn into a way for me to talk to everybody I care about. But like taking the time to share what I think about the people in my life that I care about has like become this avalanche, you know, like the letters and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, some marketer would take that and then tell everybody they got to do that. And now people I love and care about don't know if who am I? Am I their friend, family, loved one? Or am I selling a timeshare?
Right.
And that like, I'm a cynic by nature, but like, I want to just acknowledge that I think what you just said is a great idea. Because if it's different and unique, it's going to have that. It's going to work. If it's going to work.
Authenticity is what, you know, seems to drive more, make stronger relationships, the authenticity, not the ads. That's why I don't say like they have stuff now, especially with chatbot, you can write a description or something, and you can actually just say a couple things and it'll write the rest of it out. It looks good and professional if that's what you're looking for, right? And you could probably get customers from that, but they're not going to be ones that are true and authentic to you if you're not authentic to them.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things I can do for convenience that are easier that I don't for that reason. Until I get proven otherwise. Like, I know what I hate when I get in the mail more than anything that people think looks awesome. These fake handwritten notes where it looks like blue pen. I mean, I'll hold up to the light just to get myself angry.
Explains it all. Why we're friends.
This loan service really like me. Or they really I take the time to write this out. But
No, like me personally, I start to second guess everything I do always, because everything true becomes false at some point.
yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. And are we making it false?
Like, am I doing this because I care, or am I doing this because now that I realize, oh wait, and then before I know
You're
it,
right about that. Yeah.
I can be immobilized. And then am I going to stop doing what I'm doing that I've started doing because it was something that felt good to me?
Well, I got one of them letters from you, and I really enjoyed it, getting it.
No, that was ChatGPT.
No, it definitely wasn't. I thought it was an invitation to an event when it was in my mailbox, because it was in a square envelope size. But it was the first piece of mail I opened. I saw it.
Well, thank you.
Authenticity is a thing. People, so that's why people, I think.
Well, I want your advice on this though, then, because I started doing that because of my namesake, Linda Doran. 2 years ago, I opened up this giant box of letters and things, and that she had been writing to me, my biological mother. And that and this book I listened to, and this environment I was in, where it had come up that there's three motivations behind it. It had come up that this culture had been genuinely sharing their thoughts about the people that they served, and it had been something that really impacted their culture. And so when I thought, it just hit me, I'm like, that's something. I'm in this place where I need to level up mentally. I can't do it alone. I got to do it with the people in my life that believe in me, that care about me, that I care about. So my first thought was, let me get some confidence by just telling the people in my life that I care about them. Like, I received these letters from Linda. And then, like, it was a mixture of motivation. So I start doing it, right? I sent, yeah, of course I wrote you a letter. And so, but I start getting people like calling me. I don't want to talk to them, not necessarily want to talk to them. like, and then I'm like, oh, this is becoming, and then I thought, I don't want to ruin this. Because if it's like, no, maybe there's something sick in me that it's like, I don't want this to become a business thing, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, you got to learn and forget, right? Like, because that's what does happen. You go back to your own habits. That you probably, same thing. There's a reason we had this conversation days ago, because I should be making calls. And like, when I just tell you, so like I had a business coach years ago said to me about writing the handwritten notes to people, right? 5 a week. Take all about what, 15 minutes? I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I should do that. I didn't do it. I would get them in the mail from other people that went to something similar, obviously. And I'm like, wow, this is really nice. They wrote me a handwritten note. They took the time to do this. But you're thinking in your head that all these things that you have to do, all these other tasks that are over habits, right? And you just get caught doing it, and you're just because of routines, and you have to learn to forget those things.
Are you calling me out? This is helpful in the sense that, and you can unpack our conversation the other day, then are you saying that the thought that I'm having about my intention to share with the people that are in my life that I care about, me over questioning that is analogous to, in your case, if you're not calling your actual client relationships with people.
Yeah, I immediately got annoyed when you told me that about you don't want to write the letter.
Let's unpack that. Yeah.
Immediately bothered me
Wait, which part?
that you're writing letters because I should be writing letters.
Oh, you felt guilty from that class?
For that 2-second conversation a minute ago when you said it. No. Well, not just that class. I heard it 100 times since. And it works. It works on me. I get them.
But okay, so I want to unpack that too. I want to know if you think that I fell into the same contradiction that we talked about the other day. Meaning, remember you were saying about calling your people?
Yeah, well, I
And
think
you're thinking, why should I call them?
anything personal is tough to do, right? Like it's just something that's really personal touching is to people probably that have had trauma in their life that are afraid to go and be vulnerable right away. And then even over time, if you learn it, you learn that, oh, well, this definitely works. Definitely works, right? But it's scary, believe it or not. It's scarier than climbing a mountain. But you still have that, and you're like, wait a minute, I know that's not. There's never a bad outcome. It's always amazing. It's always an amazing outcome. It's always a good conversation. It's always good. But yeah, you do get in habits where you forget because your mind has been trained to protect yourself from relationships sometimes. And even though, and then you can learn that, but it's still there a little bit. You just got to be aware of it and know that that's what that is, and keep talking to yourself. Understand and practice the things that you don't want to do. Like you told me that a while ago. Like if you don't want to do it, then you have to do it. And that's that. And I've seen on that philosophy 5 years ago, probably, and I think about it every day. And I do that a lot more than.
The reason I had that advice for you is because I self-sabotage myself when I don't listen to that. When I listen to that voice that says that I don't want to do it, if I don't contradict that voice, like all the good things that have come into my life, I can really look at. It was like that call I didn't want to have last minute, or I wanted to, like maybe I gave my word to something and then I changed my mind. Once I stopped doing that or mitigated that, it's like a self-sabotage. That's where I got that wisdom, is working really hard to not follow that voice in my head that's sabotaging me.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further with it because sometimes you think, oh, well, this is a sign, right? This is a sign, right?
Yeah, I've thought
you go to do something, and then yeah, you're gonna go write that email to that person, then the computer, doesn't work, right? Maybe this is a sign, right? Or maybe it's a challenge. Maybe you go get another. And I know why you're laughing. Is I really didn't mean it. I'm just looking at a computer. That's why I said it.
No, that's funny though. No comment.
As I started talking, it started coming out. So I was like,
no comment.
But no, but then it's like, all right, now I don't want to do it. Is that just another challenge, or is it is it really a sign? Like like people that maybe go up on the street to meet some horrible person, and the car accident happens, and you forget about it, and you walk away.
I think that I'll speak for myself. I avoid conflict if I can, and I'm entitled because I've been able to succeed in life, not being as good as I could.
Yeah,
it's why it's taken me hundreds of these episodes to even have a normal conversation with, like, you, for example, a guest, right? Because I'm trying to grow through the podcast. So, like, we're having a normal conversation like we would if we were off the show. It's so I can speak for myself. I will avoid it. I will self-sabotage. So, and not know I'm doing it. So the feedback I want from you is: do you think I should stop doing the letters or continue doing it?
No, I think you should continue doing them because it's good for you. And then, like I said, I know as being someone that knew you a long time, works for me, and I haven't talked to you as much because you've been busy and around. To me, it meant a lot to stop and took and wrote it. It was definitely authentic and sincere. You put some personal stuff in there about our relationship when we started working together. and I really enjoyed it. So I would say, I would say definitely keep doing it.
Do you think the fear I have of that becoming some kind of marketing bullshit is me self-sabotaging or
Yeah,
being delusional? Like, oh, it's a sign. Like, because I think that I recognize that when you said, because I've been having. So yeah, I want your feedback. Can you help me with that?
yeah, I think that definitely is that because if you're around that all the time and we're around so much inauthentic marketing and you know you try to be authentic, and then I think you overthink it because it is a sabotage thing 100%. I do it too. I think everybody does it. You overthink stuff, but I think no, if it's authentic and you know it's authentic and it is, then I wouldn't even, who gives a shit if somebody thinks it's marketing?
It's therapeutic for me at this point. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's good for you and it works for you. And it's, you know, like, why would, you know, it's authentic. I mean, it didn't call off to me anything of the kind marketing like that at all. So when
I think I'm very jaded by I definitely overthink too much. 30 days of thought. Like, got it. We have to get a new one out that's just not that thoughtful. um, so what was your experience with the conversations and what did you learn from putting yourself in your own,
um,
popping through or breaking through that feedback loop?
yeah, it's well, I'll go to somebody, you know, an old friend of mine told me the heathen, a priest told him, it's like just show up. Like we could go, like you know, it's hard to go to the gym. I gotta be there 45 minutes. I get this, I get that. I got calls to make. Like just go to the gym. Just show up at it, and then from there, just take that step. So like I was telling you, I had a list of things, like to do list, which and I had to make some calls just to touch base with some people. Just to, and it was a rainy, crappy day. I mean, it's like, when those days are like that, like I don't even try to sell houses because I feel like people are in the same mood that I am, which is just like I'm buying anything today, dude. So I went and started making calls, and like after the first one, I just immediately felt better, like because I did it, and I didn't want to do it, and then I started just railing them off. I started making a bunch of calls. So I think like just show up, right? Just start, just make it. What's he gonna do? Tell me to piss off or something? Like, and I don't know. It's like a dear friend who was dying to hear from me. Like I called.
Stop.
Yeah, he wouldn't get off the phone.
Life is just like one giant joke.
Well, actually, I always tend to think.
Phone.
Well, you always tend to think the world is through your goggles, right? Which,
Yeah.
if I really think about it, almost nobody thinks the way I do or sees the way I do. Right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call somebody that I know will really want to talk to me. Like I'm not gonna call because I tend to think people like me. Like when I have a friend calling, like it's Friday afternoon, I got a closing in an hour, I'm bumming around and I see them ringing on the thing. It's like, gosh, I can't talk to them now. I call back later. I think I'm being that guy when I'm calling somebody else, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that guy. He just likes me, wants to talk to me. Nothing wrong. As a little client, wants to
It's
chat.
so funny. This like what's the not deja vu, but I used to really enjoy because it became a power trip, which is once again is not something that I intend to do. But I used to be, because I don't do this anymore. I used to be really good at like if I call someone that I don't know, I'm gonna love on them. Like if they're the angrier they are, the more I'm gonna love on them. Like, dude, we're angry together,
Let me ask you this: how many times? Well, you get people angry when you do that. It's not they don't start off angry, right?
So I was like, I gotta understand what you mean.
Well, you'll dig and dig and dig until you find it.
Me?
Yeah. I'm saying why do we think that's not why I said that?
No, I'm so curious about this.
But why do we think they're going to be angry when we call? How far back was it We were like, we called somebody that was pissed off.
No, that's a dark
Yeah,
question.
scared the shit out of us 40 years ago or whatever. I mean, I don't know why. Why do nobody ever is mad when I call. Only good things happen. Worst that happens, they get a voicemail and then they call me back later. Or they'll text me.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that and say, I have a question. You're calling your past relationships?
Yeah, but past clients. But most of my clients I deal with usually like real estate transactions. It's a long process. You're working through a lot of stuff. They're working through family stuff and moving. And I end up being friends with people most of the time.
Well, John, I would want to acknowledge then that data and say if that's really the feedback that you've gotten over a stretch of time, that's a testament to your culture,
right?
To your because
my relationships with people tend to be unintentional, but we work together and then we become, I'm helping them in problems. They're giving me, they're patronizing my business and my family. So it ends up being a good, so I built most of my relationships that way. A lot of them, actually everybody I know from New Jersey, as long as I've lived for 21 years, has come from this business. Everything, everybody. And I have some amazing relationships and connections that I've gotten from here. And actually, my really close friends in Pennsylvania that I deal with, that I get business from, I'm very grateful for it. That's all I have over there. Like a lot of, I don't have a ton of regular, my best relationships nowadays, pretty much everything, other than people I grew up as a childhood, are all from New Jersey, all from this business. Which it's funny. I lived over there for a long time, in school over there, but I probably have a dozen or so people I still talk to and interact with. But I've made huge relationships from my business just by being interacting with people.
Well, that's great data that would represent your culture. I was more speaking towards, because I guess there's two sets here. There's our past, our relationships, which we could easily negate, because it's like a paradox of love. The more we love people, we could forget. We take them for granted, frankly. I mean, we may get, we have every reason not to communicate our thoughts, feelings, emotions, or maybe ask more questions because we love them. We're on the same page.
All right.
Now, so there's that group. And then I was more speaking to in my past when I had no relationships, and it was just strangers, like complete strangers that now I'm coming through their phone. There's a lot of aggression. You can imagine, there's a lot of different personalities that are going to receive a phone call from a telemarketer, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I figured out a way to get through that, which was to try to leave them better, even if it was just F you and then hung up. Like it would become like a fun conversation. And like the meaner someone is, the more I'd have to compensate with caring about them, like not yelling back, but agreeing with them,
right?
Because there's a level of empathy, and that's so the foundation of what Culture Matters has become. If I really think about that out loud, like that, I had to figure out how to build a culture with a stranger, and I think to do that you have to forgive them, and you have to then learn, and you have to tell the truth, and you have to help them essentially with it. So it's
You're telling me forgive them, they didn't do anything yet. Other than answer the phone, you're like, I forgive you. Listen, I'm not gonna
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that,
for all of the things that you've done to offend me.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, John, because no, I'm thinking you probably just helped the audience because they could be thinking, what the hell is Jay talking about? I don't be. It's a little abstract, I guess. So,
No, I understand what you're meaning. Though.
I know you understand, but like, I gotta remember, we do have an audience here, right? So, I mean, forgiveness as in I'm not reacting in a. I'm not really,
negativity when they're mad.
and I don't know. I'm also not faking it. I'm not faking it. I'm truly like. It makes a lot of sense that you'd be this pissed off that I'm calling you because who the hell am I and what do I want? You know, so I would just so that's like a really important thing. I would try to love the person proportional to the anger and make it fun and tell the truth. Like I wouldn't want to be called right now either. Like that's annoying.
Well, it's funny you just said that you're not faking it, right? Because why we always feel like we have to do that? Why we always got to feel like we have to tell them like, hey, look, I'm authentic. I mean, you are calling them on your own, doing it on your own. Why would you be faking it? Faking it doesn't do anything for you. And I've known you.
Well, the reason I say that is because
I never heard you try to sell anybody anything. 7 years ever.
Well, oh, thanks.
I haven't. I came to you. Remember?
Well, you know why I'm saying that? I think because I hold on to this because that's what's taught. I think, and I'm trying to show a different example is like what I was taught in all the books that I came across around sales was what to say. And if I'm being told what to say, then I am not in a position where I can actually listen and think and be present with my prospective client. So I think the whole, like, everything that as a student, someone that was trying to be successful in sales, in business, I was digesting was telling me to be inauthentic without saying it. It was telling me to memorize a question somebody else came up with. It was, almost convincing me.
Scripted. Yeah.
It was convincing me and to not be present, to not be challenged in my values with the customer. And so I have a lot of to say on that topic that I haven't said much to, generally. And I think that's the reason I keep saying it. I don't think I'm inauthentic when I'm having conversations with people that I don't know. I think I'm following my conscience. It's an important thing to me.
You're spot on with that. So because I learned sales mostly was for enrollments, for memberships, for martial arts school, and you'd ask a question that would frame another question from the people, right? Or frame an answer that you want it framed your way. It's almost like what you see like most interviews on TV, and you're basically trying to get an answer from them. So then you can box them into two other questions, which one, and you can kind of put them into the spot where they talk themselves into buying a membership, right? Well, and I got really, really, really good at that. Right? I mean, I could sit there and sell anybody. I mean, since I was a kid, I've been trading kids bikes for skateboards, since little. They would, I just was one of the talents I had. But when I got into real estate, you can't really do that, right? Because it's not a car. You can be a car salesman. You can go in and sell them everything about the car, put them in it, make it smell nice, turn it on, rev the engine. They love it. In that moment, they make their decision, they're gone, and then they're gone. In this business, we have inspections. We have the 3-day, rescission period and things like that. You can't just go and because you got time to go think about it, right? They're going to go home to their family and it's just a 45-day, minimum process that you're going to have a relationship with these people. If you're not authentic, they'll find out right away. And I can't tell them, look, and I see people do it. Look at the kitchen, look at the cabinets. I'm looking at them. That's what they are, right? I didn't sell them. Those cabinets were fastened to the wall. They're fastened to the wall. They were already there. I didn't sell them the kitchen. People say I don't sell them the house. It doesn't matter what kind of shoes I'm wearing, right? They like people that work with me. They like that I'm going to take care of them very good. I'm going to represent them very good. I'm going to be there to answer the phone when they have a question, things like that. So the sales end is very, very different, right? And where sales comes from on this end It's again, I don't sell them the house. They walk in, they love it with their family. I take them there. Most of the time, I don't even talk to them. I just let them walk through and ask me questions. But the sales is that I'm going to get your offer approved. You're not going to be one of the 59 people that didn't get the house, because I have a relationship with that agent that I've known for 15 years that knows I'm going to get to the table on time, and I'm going to make you look good. And I'll make you like, everything. We're going to be proactive. We're going to get things done quickly, and it's going to be right and smooth as silk. And I have that relationship with the title people involved, and I have that relationship with the mortgage company involved. They're going to know that I get shit done. That's where that's where my sales are. It doesn't matter. You might love the house, you might want it, but now I got to sell that offer, not to the seller, to the agent, and then the seller. I got to sell it to people I don't see, right? So it doesn't matter how your offer's presented. I got 2 offers. I like this agent, I like this one. They're both the same. I say to the seller, I work with this one a dozen times. I know they're going to get it done. It's going to be smoother. Everything here is good too. I like this one too, right? What's my seller going to say to me? The one that you want, because they hired me and they trusted me to do the job. So you got to make sure in this business, if you have to be authentic, you have to build relationships. They have to be good. They have to be strong. You can't just go and sell products like a car or something. So that's where the authenticity and things have gotten. So when I first got in it, I was very salesy, and it doesn't work. It goes away very quickly. You'll get people under contract right away, maybe, but then they'll change their mind. They'll change their mind. And then
How important is the agent to agent relationship?
I would say the relationship is important, but the reputation and the is more important. The integrity is more important. I know who does business around here. I know who gets things done on time. I know who the problems are. I know who the ones that are just, they're not full time or they're not whatever. I know, and I know all that. That doesn't matter if it's a good offer on a property that's tough to sell from an agent that's part time. I don't know that, but I will tell the people up front, look, it's good. We got to sell this thing. I said, but there could be some bumps on the road. Don't make these hard dates. Don't buy your moving truck yet, because the mortgage lender is not somebody I know. They're from out of town. Buyer might be a little, but we don't have anything else, right? Well, again, that's the same thing by being authentic and telling them everything up front. This could happen, that could happen, whatever. But so the relationship is important with the other agents. Reputation is important with the other agents. So that's how I started. I wanted to find out who was doing business around me, so I would do what they do. I modeled what they did. And that's how I learned. Again, 2 arms, 2 legs. And if they're doing 100 deals this year, are they all their friends and family, or are they marketing somewhere? Or are they marketing? Nowadays, it's easy. You just Google their name. It'll tell you all their websites. You can go to the bottom and find out who made their website. You do the exact same one. And I'm like, how much is this website? I go look it up. It's $2,000 a month. Probably fucking works, right? It probably works, right? Because this guy's paying that, and he didn't just get it last week. So instead of buying things, memberships, different things like that, so then you know who they are. Then you make relationships with those agents, and then when you get a deal with them, you make sure you don't screw it up, no matter what. You make sure you know everything. Make sure you're honest with them when you tell them, hey, look, I don't know who the lender is. They might say, yeah, John, I had this thing on the market for 6 months. Nobody's even looking at it. So, let's just give it a whirl and see what happens. And again, if you're honest with everybody, it works over time. I have some agents that are a headache every time they send one in. And they're like, dude, if you get this place, if your buyer gets this house, it's because I have absolutely nobody else in the entire world interested. Like, just know they overpaid for it. Nobody else wants this piece of crap.
Wow.
So, so yeah, I think the relationships are very important.
If you were to give this conversation a theme and a call to action for the audience, we're in Q2 of 2023. What would you say the theme is, and what's the call to action? What does our audience need to do?
Learn and grow. Learn and forget. Bad interactions, bad things that didn't work well. Forget it, because it will be different. And what works today might not work tomorrow. What worked yesterday might not work today. And be aware of those things and know it. Because I do see a lot of people, and we all do. We all get creatures of habit. Like, why am I doing this today? Because I did it 20 years ago, and I'm still doing the same thing. Like, it does, I'm trying to do. I want to really start to use more technology. Is one of the things that we're trying to do, because I still have a paper to-do list, but that still works for me anymore. More than I can do that faster than I can put it into the computer. I don't know if that's true, but in my head, it still is. But so I'd say, to learn and grow, I think that's everything. That's what I tried to do more than anything during the pandemic, was just learn things. And I would do more courses online and do things like that when downtime, was, and again, no one's different nowadays, even everything, just timing, everything's different. A lot of people work from home. Rush hour isn't 9 a.m. and 5 o'clock anymore, or 8:30 and 5. I mean, there's traffic all different times of the day. So things change differently all the time. Like I said, we don't do the magazine ads anymore. We do, online stuff. We do most of our marketing is social. So if you think about what's different now than 10 years ago, it's a whole different world. And if you don't adapt and change and grow, you're going to be standing still. And I don't think anything stands still. You're going backwards if you're standing still.